8 years ago, I had a big change in my life. I did not trust well. So I literally was considering just letting go and being done. And then I'll never forget when God told me, hey, look at all these people you have, all these great people I've given you. And that's when all of a sudden I was like, hey, I'm not going to sell.
Welcome back to the Dataliction Podcast, where we learn from leaders whose experience and faith shape how they grow their companies on purpose. In today's episode, Travis and I sit down with Alex Melvin, the owner and chairman of Rural King, America's farm and home store. 8 years ago, Alex almost sold the company, and then God reminded him of the people he'd been given, and it changed everything. His priorities, his culture, and the way he leads. This conversation is about putting people first, building trust you can actually hand off, and finding the leaders who get pushed up instead of pulled up. And now let's jump into that conversation. Your number one focus is people first. And I would love to hear what that means to you, because obviously I've seen people first be used in positive ways and negative ways and all around, but man, you got a great reputation and a lot of wisdom. I'd love to hear how you handle people first.
Yeah, well, it wasn't always that way. I think the biggest thing is just teaching and educating our teams. And empowering them with the right things to make the right decisions. At the end of the day, without people, we can't run this company. Got a lot of associates, a lot of customers, and we got to empower them to make the right decision and trust them. But you can't do that if they're not taught up well. They don't understand the mission and the vision of the organization and where we're heading. I'm not saying we do the best of jobs always with that. There's lots of room for improvement, but it's empowering them, encouraging them, and they got to make mistakes. There's going to be mistakes that happen, and just like lifting weights, failure is growth, and so if you don't go to failure, you're not going to grow. And the big thing about that is we got to make sure we just learn from those failures and keep growing from them. So.
Yeah, Alex, how do you empower people in the stores? Because one of the things that I love in the stores too is that amazing popcorn smell as I walk in, and but maybe that's not the empowerment. But what is it to you? What's that mean?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, take care of their customers and take care of their associates. If there's a customer that needs to be taken care of, in our past, we've had restrictions or you can't do this or you can't do that. At the end of the day, they just need to take care of them. Very, very seldom do we see an associate make a wrong decision to take care of a customer. It's usually always the right thing. And so just letting them know that they can take care of the customer, how they need to take care of them, and do it quickly. Because, we're looking for lifetime loyalty. We're not looking for just that one instant time period. So I got a lot of stories on that from my past, but, learnings and mistakes that have happened. But, I think it's just that, taking care of their customers and also taking care of their associates. There's a lot of times where, they just need to take care of them. And, whether it's they get sick or, bad situation at home. We have stories after stories where you just take care of your people. They come around them, almost like a community. It is a community of people. When you have 60 to 80 associates in a store, you're working with them all the time. Just coming around them and taking care of them.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me stories where you guys have set aside, what is it? Yeah. You set aside a whole bunch of resources for them. Yeah. Well, I was wondering, how do you care for those and what made you decide to set aside even funds and resources for that?
It's just like learning from a podcast or learning from others that have already done it. They're even some of the biggest companies in the world have them. Walmart's great at it as well, but it's a CARES fund. It's called RK Cares. And it's a fund that's there for our associates for just major hiccups in life that we all always know that happen, whether it's fire or tornado or just all kinds of things. One of our biggest funding things is just not having enough funds to have a burial ceremony for their a funeral for their family. So that's one of our largest funds that we give out to. It's just having enough money to have a funeral or just burial or things like that. So and it's just coming around. Our organization wasn't always like that, but we came to a spot where it was probably more focused on success always and moving towards more of a significant mindset of long-lasting legacy of how do we take care of people. And that can be controversial, how we take care of people. A lot of times the loving thing isn't necessarily the not looking so loving, as we all know, but it truly is. Just taking care of our people.
Well, I mean, even the fact that you think about how to help their loved ones and even afterlife, talk to me a little bit. I mean, that seems really pivotal on like it has this servant leader type play here. So walk me through a little bit of that. Like, it sounds like you have a lot of faith in this. Help me understand that too, how that plays into your view on how to help serve these people.
I think at the end of the day, if you are a ongoing person of faith, focusing on doing the right things, that you believe doing the right things, these are just automatic. I think once you've made a decision to this is how we're going to go, and then staying strong into that vision that God's given you to just, that's it. It's just, this is how we're going to take care of people. Now, I'm not saying that we're perfect with that at all. I'm not saying that one bit. We have lots of opportunities that we can be serving better. I look at some of these retailers that are paying way more per hour than we are, and I'm like, wow, they are taking care of their people better than we are. I think just doing the right thing at the end of the day. And that comes with a lot of different things, but integrity is another one of our values. And just doing what we know is right. At the time, sometimes we're not always that way, quick thinking, but usually you're getting it within a 24-hour window. Hopefully, that the Spirit's telling you, hey, that wasn't right. You need to go back and change that. So,
I'd love to drill down on the integrity piece. I'm hearing so much trust that you have in your people. It's really remarkable. Trust is an incredible currency. You mentioned pay, and obviously as leaders and paying employees, that their pay is important, but also the trust that they are, being given is such an incredible value to them as a person as they are working. Talk to me how that trust is earned or just build and develop, because I'm very impressed by the way you let your people be people to take care of people through trust.
Yeah. Not everybody gets that right away. They that's kind of an earned process that comes through. But I think if they're wanting to follow it, they're working really hard with serving our people and serving our customer within how Rural King has done that, and following those, whether you want to call them guidelines or just the overall vision of the organization. And it's not their little niche vision. They get more and more and more trust. And then when that happens, they get a lot. And you're right. As soon as they get that trust, man, that's very encouraging. Gives them a lot of confidence. Man, some people I've seen that have grown from that have came from places where the world might say they don't deserve a role, and I would say they deserve it very much. They get more and more. As they do better, they just get more responsibility. But I hope that answered your question. If not, ask me more.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and if I can, 8 years ago, I had a big change in my life. I did not trust well, and I had a significant change in just my overall life in general. And um, I had a decision to make at that time period because I couldn't run the company like I was running it. You know, I had to trust people. And I had about a 6-month window where I was like, man, I'm going to have to sell this company because my number one focus in this world needs to be my family and my wife and my kids. And it wasn't that way. And so I didn't think I could do that with owning the business. So I literally was considering just letting go and being done. And then I'll never forget when God told me, you know, hey, look at all these people you have, all these great people I've given you. And that's when all of a sudden I was like, hey, I'm not going to sell. You know, I'm, you know, almost like a lift off the shoulders. And that's where that, you know, people talk about scaling or getting to that next growth stage of how do you get to that next million or billion. You really can't do it at all. You can't unless you're empowering, encouraging, training, and teaching. And if I could go back in time, because I spent a lot of years doing it the not so great way, it's really cost our organization a lot of upside potential because so many years of not thinking that direction. And so now we're going back and fixing that, if you will, that crack in that foundation that just takes time.
What would you tell your younger self now, or even leaders that, you know, you had that moment, that aha moment? What was it, or how do you get over that aha moment really fast?
Well, I don't think, looking back, that's a great question. I would have answered it differently, but the farther I go in maturity, the better I am for these conversations to answer them more accurately, to get to the root cause. My focus and heart wasn't, I didn't have faith. I didn't have God in my life on a regular basis. So literally my focus was not my wife and my kids. It just wasn't. They were third. They were second. The priority was success and money, or just success in general. The dopamine of the rush of the deal. It was worldly. So without that, I could never have gotten. So you just got to be. I mean, could I invest right now with somebody like my older self and get a lot of value? Yeah, but it would be focused just on an individual contributor, and it wouldn't be long-term, foundational, real, genuine significance that's going to take our company generationally. If that makes sense. So I think if you don't have that focus on your family, it's a check mark always that I have to check myself too, because if I'm always spending time on work and that's all I have time for, and my spouse isn't coming up on my mind, my kids aren't coming up on my mind, then I already know I'm off. And by having that and focusing on that, knowing that you have to focus on your family and your marriage, makes you a better leader, because you cannot do it the other way. So,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
how do you keep that balance? I mean, you're super busy and you're working through a lot, but how do you keep that balance?
Do you want a divorce? I think that's, you know, I don't know how else to say it. There's a lot of successful people out in the world. I think I can catch myself watching it too. It's happening all the time, right? And then you look, oh, wow, they're on this top list, but how many wives has they've had? So, I mean, I know I don't, that's not wealth to me, even though I sit here and say that. It's easy to say. I still can get caught up comparing myself, but man, I tell you, having that peace and joy is a lot more important to me at this stage in my life than it is the success. And so, yeah, I think that's important. And I love my wife and my kids, and I want to see them grow up and do great things too. And that might be, I might short-term sacrifice of the organization, but long-term, I mean, Way more important.
Wow. You mentioned integrity is one of the values that you train your people with, that you see all around you. Consistency is one part of integrity. Obviously, you don't want to consistently do the wrong thing. So it's consistently doing the right thing. What are some of the practical ways you help your teams as you have scaled at large across your, like, far beyond your own personal ability?
Yeah.
What are some of the practical ways you're helping your people to apply being consistent, having integrity, and having that same experience with people across the board?
I think it just goes by our actions and our things that we're doing within our company. So I think it's just that simple. I can give little small things I think that matter more. We stopped doing a Christmas party for all of our stores like 9 years ago that I did. And we put that in place where we close early one time a year, and they have a Christmas party, and we fund it, and they come in and they have their family there, not just associates, but families allowed to come. Little things like that, closing on Easter, just doing the right things in general. And I'm not saying, again, we got a lot of work to do, so I want to. There's lots of things that we need to be doing better, but I think it's just in general how we treat people. And I think when they come to Rural King, we do hear that a lot. It feels like family. And it's just the little things that matter, doing the right thing. All of a sudden something happens and we got an opportunity to take care of them, or somebody reaches out to me directly, and I take care of it and make sure they get addressed. A vendor might mess up and not charge us for something. It gets found out, and we give them the money back, or we pay them. And sometimes in the past it might have been a celebration that they did that, and to all of a sudden catch that and say, "Hey, that's not right. Let's get that back soon." So it's just a small little things change, and you're right, consistently in making sure. And it's a discipline too, because there's a lot of times you look at that when your company might not be doing as hot, or maybe that company didn't do you so well 3 or 4 years ago, and you're like, "Gosh, I gotta do that." Yeah, you got to do that.
Keeping it simple is such a brilliant and beautiful way to ensure consistency. When you over-engineer it, you try to come up with every answer to every problem, it's just not realistic. And I love how you explained integrity as do the right thing. And that is where you really try to empower those people.
You do. And I tell you, another thing is really, really paying attention to the people you're putting in place. I did not do that well. And so I know there's a question that you guys have coming up regarding somebody I put in charge of our organization, but integrity matters a lot in asking certain questions. And because if you don't have that trust, it's hard to let loose of large responsibilities. And I'm not saying we have the right leaders across the board in every area that has that upstanding integrity, but I would say we are getting there.
What's some of the litmus tests that you usually put in place there for as you're kind of identifying new and uprising leaders within the organization?
I heard this said, everything I have has been taught to me, obviously, by somebody. I take this from somebody that taught me. If they watch this, they'll know who it is. But if you're being pulled up in an organization versus pushed up, we're looking for people that are getting pushed up. And that, I love that. So if there's many people telling, "Hey, this person's great, they need to take that role," not getting pulled up, meaning by an executive, or they're constantly wanting that role. Usually the people too that need to go into role, a lot of times they don't want it.
Really? So they're already ahead, or you're ahead of them, trying to see how their character is ahead of time, right?
More so than ever. And I tell you what, that's that struggle with new hires, because it's a 50-50. I really like somebody like Steve that came in as a CEO. and I know you're going to ask that question, but
Yeah.
I knew Steve he was advising me for a time period before I even considered that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I had to really get to know people. It sounds just like, oh, you're going to interview somebody for a president role, and oh, you're going to just put them in. I mean, I can't. That's tough. I mean, that's going to be. I better know somebody that they know that I have a lot of trust in and understanding, but not just going to go release the whole organization to somebody that no. So, uh, and I got to experience some of that integrity. And
Walk us through a little bit of that.
yeah, I'll tell you exactly. Um, Steve Barbricks, his non-compete was completely done with Tractor Supply. He worked for Tractor for 20 some years and cared a lot for that organization and the people and the company that worked for it. And they are a great company. Tractor is amazing. He would not walk into a Tractor Supply with me. Even after the non-compete, he wasn't even working for really me. He was just advising me, coaching me. But he wouldn't walk in a Tractor Supply with me. And that single act of integrity of just not doing that allowed him to be president and CEO of our company. And he wasn't just CEO right away. I mean, he was president, COO, and then I made him CEO. But it was a great time period for me. He was with us for 3 years in that role. It was short, but it's a great period for me as a young executive to step back and to get a fresh start and perspective of what a CEO even means and whatnot. But his integrity was high, and it was so high that I trust him with our organization, and rightfully so. I mean, he did a great job.
What would you say are the ways you can get someone who doesn't want to lead, but they're the right person to lead, to get them to open up their heart?
I have that example too. So our current president is Jason Hortenstein, and he didn't want that role. I've been working on him for over a year, and so encouraging him, showing him why, and after about 6 months, it started happening, and then a little bit more and a little bit more, and finally they see themselves in the role that I've envisioned them. And it took a lot of time because he's not my personality at all, and I'm not his personality at all, which is just a great reason why. And just experiences too in that, Steve and I are very similar personalities. It's what I needed for a time period. I needed to step out. I need to have a break. And, but Jason's personality was great for that future vision, of all the things that I'm horrible at. And all the things that he would say he's not good at, I can fill those spots for him. So, it's just working on him, showing him the vision, communicating it, getting way ahead of it. And I'm not saying that was all, that just happened the way it needed to happen. Thank God, because, I didn't even know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I knew exactly what I'm doing. I'm just telling you the experience that I had. It took me over a year.
I'm super grateful for leaders like you. I know in my own life, I've had people work on me. And so on behalf of all of us that have had those conversations, thank you. And I have found that most oftentimes people can see something about who I am, who we are, before we see it, because leadership is not so much something that you do, but it is someone that you are. And having people call us up to that next level is an incredible thing from this seat. So again, Alex, thanks for being that role for so many people. Travis, I heard you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was really wanting to know, like, as it sounds like time is like the relationship that you need in order to really understand the person. And like, if you're going to put a leader in a role, it sounds like it's just not an overnight thing. It is seeing how they're interacting with their family, seeing how they interact with staff, seeing how they interact with the waiter or waitress. Like that, those are
spot on. I tell you, will they open the door for the people or not? I mean, if they don't open the door for the people, I don't think I'm one of them serving my company.
wow.
If they're,
Wow.
I mean, no way.
Yeah.
If they're not going to let somebody else through or in or, no. So
Yeah.
you're spot on. I think it's really, they might not even know they're being interviewed. They really don't, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that you just got to watch for, but I think it's knowing, would you let your kids work for them? I always love that. I actually said that to somebody last week that needs to make a tough decision. So you're telling me you'd let your kids work for them? And the answer was no.
Wow.
Well, guess what? I'd say you have a decision that you got to get made here. So
Yeah.
I like that one. That one's probably the best to use, but
wow.
Definitely going to take that away.
But sometimes though, and I was going to say to John, sometimes, yes, I can see a lot in people, but sometimes I can see things that I just want to see on my own. And so I've known now for leadership roles or people that I would like to look at, if Jason's not on board with them, like I don't push it, because I can envision, I'm such a visionary, I can envision, John, you so much for something that it might be my imagination that gets the best of me. So having that combo of Jason and myself, I know we'll make the right decision together. We make really good. If he's not on board with something, and I am, and I'm not wanting to budge, and he's, vice versa. Now, he might want to do something, and I don't love it, but I'm like, you know what, man, I trust you. I'm going to let you do it. That's usually worked out. I think it's worked out every time.
Wow, that's such great advice.
Yeah, so I'm a 50-50 hire. So I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm a 50-50 guy, but with the right folks around me, we can be really, really accurate.
Yeah. Well, Alex, I've learned a ton here, and especially as leaders thinking about your next hire. Those are some great questions. But I do want to leave just one last question here.
Yeah.
And it's a total shift, but I really want to understand what's exciting you lately. What's even for personally or even on the store level, what's exciting you?
I think the future of our organization, I don't love where we're at right now, but I have so much hope of the vision of where we're going. We are doing a lot of the hard work that should have been done years ago. And so I think I'm most excited about the investments, not just money is one, but the investments that are being made in time, in talent, in teaching, in educating. And it's not, we love to grow. Growth is glorifying, but we will grow if we have the funds and the ability to grow. But at the end of the day, if we have to pull it back, we have to pull it back. But really just focusing on that longevity. Times right now for retail are not the simplest. I mean, it's tough, but I have hope in that vision that God's given me for the future. And I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Trust is a currency, and Alex spends it on his people. He almost walked away from all of it until God pointed him back to the people he'd been given. Get your priorities in order, empower your people, and significance will take care of the numbers. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dataliction Podcast. Alex talked about trusting his people. And here's the thing, it is hard to trust what you cannot see. When the real picture of your business lives in a dozen disconnected tools and a spreadsheet that only one person understands, every decision becomes a guess. But at Dataliction, our team helps you solve that problem exactly. We build your own all-in-one platform shaped around how you actually run your business without the bloated tools that come from software built for everyone everywhere. One system, simple and powerful. Yours is often costing less than that big stack of subscriptions that you've been renting and paying for now. So head over to Dataliction.com, book a free call with our team, and see what's actually possible for a business like yours.